I think that the best advice I would give is to, you know, look at just everything holistically, and zoom out from, you know, the thing that is like your thing, like music is my thing. It's like what I know how to do, right?
Hmm.
But often, my day to day, when it comes to just working on growing my business, I'm not even doing my thing. I'm doing a lot of other things, and so I have to kind of zoom out from, the passion part of it and the, oh, I love doing this, because there's just so many other things to do and learn and think about in order to grow and scale. And you have to set that up in the beginning, in order for it to work.
Hey everyone, this is Devin Miller here with another episode of The Inventive Journey. I'm your host, Devin Miller, a serial entrepreneur that's grown several startups into 7 and 8 figure businesses, as well as the founder and CEO of Miller IP Law, where he helps startups and small businesses with their patents and trademarks. If you ever need help with yours, just go to strategymeeting.com, grab some time with us to chat, and we're always here to help. Now, today we've got another great guest on the podcast, Juanita Sky, and Juanita started her journey in high school, was pretty heavily involved in choir as well as in music. Wanted to become a music teacher, so went off to college and got an education studying education and music performance, and then went to teach in the public school system. About 4 years into teaching, got laid off, so decided to start her own business. Doing a AFL studio, and that ended up failing, but learned from that and took that experience and started her current business. So, with that much as an introduction, welcome on the podcast.
Thank you, Devin.
My pleasure. Well, excited to have you here, and looking forward to a great discussion. So, as we jump into the journey, I gave just a quick overview to a much longer journey. So why don't we rewind and unpack a little bit and tell us a little bit about how your journey got started, going into or having a joy and a liking of doing choir and music in high school.
Sure. I just grew up around a lot of music, in church, sang in choirs and things like this. Was always involved in music and musical theater in some way. So, I wanted to learn more. I self-taught myself on piano a bit when I was in high school. Uh, Took some music theory classes, and then went on to college. Had a mentor in one of my churches who helped me to do my interview for university. Got in, did that, and so that started the journey. I feel like music is one of my core values is fun. So that was one of my main reasons for doing it. I feel like if I'm gonna do something for the rest of my life, it should be something enjoyable and challenging. So that was start of the start of everything, really.
Now you or had that as kind of the start of everything. So you went off to college and you got a studied education as well as music performance. Is that right?
Yeah, I studied music education and vocal performance. And then after that, I went on to get my master's in education curriculum instruction.
Hmm.
Because once I got into the field of teaching music, I realized that I might need something else, because music teachers tend to stick around at a school, and generally there's only one. So it's quite challenging to find a job sometimes, or at least that's what it was when I was starting out. And especially if I wanted to stay in a certain area, I wasn't very flexible with, moving to different states. So I did that. Um,
Hmm.
and I went on to teach in South Korea for a little bit. Taught English, kind of merged, music and language learning, and then went back to teaching music privately and in public schools and things like this. And now, I have some online courses, so I've been able to kind of meld those two things together, and
Now, before
just
we dive into
continue.
just what you're doing now, and we'll
Mhm.
definitely get there. So
Yeah.
so you got the degree, went into did some teaching in various or in various circumstances. Now, I think at one point you mentioned that as you were doing the teaching positions, that you went through a layoff and ended up or getting, or
Yeah.
let go, so to speak, and you started your first business, not your current business, but your first business. So kind of walk
Hmm.
us through what was that business, and kind of as you're experiencing that layoff, or how you got, or what was that, and what did you start?
Sure. Yeah. So as you know, I started the AFL studio. That was basically something I did out of pure necessity because I had been laid off. And, I was thinking, how am I going to pay my rent and what am I going to do? I only have one skill basically, and that's, teaching music. So I figured I'd put up a website and try to get some private students piano and voice. And at the time, I did it. I went to the Small Business Association, learned a little bit about SEO, all this jazz. Put up the website, got a roster of about 17 students, seven of which attended regularly. And they were mostly piano students. And it did that. And it helped to kind of, uh, uh, you know, keep me afloat, if you will. It definitely, you know, like it failed, but it taught me that it was possible to, kind of do something that I really enjoyed and generate income, just putting myself out there. So yeah,
So now you see, you went through, you started that, and certainly get out of necessity. Hey, I've got to get, have to have an income, have to be able to support myself. This is where my skill set
yeah,
lies, and this is where I'll pursue it. Now, you went through that. Now, it didn't turn out to be as successful as you'd wanted, or didn't have that, or the ability to provide the income needed. So, kind of at what point, or where did you, or how did you make that decision that, okay, maybe this isn't the right niche or area to focus in, and kind of how did that lead to the business you're doing today?
sure. Well, I didn't really come to the conclusion that it wasn't the right niche to focus on, because it's really all that I know and all that I have. I feel like it didn't succeed because of just knowledge, not really knowing how to run a business and scale it, and maybe not having the skills to like do the marketing or money to pour into it. So even though it failed, Work Flora is still very much it's a music related business. There's still an aspect of private lessons that I do. But as I thought about, revamping that, I figured, I'm only one person, right? And when you start a business, it's more than just creating a job for yourself. And right now, I'm still kind of in the, I work a regular job and I do this. So on some level, I still feel like it's a little bit of creating a job for myself, but rethinking it made me figure that I needed to be able to have something that was a little bit more hands off, like having an online course or doing bigger contracts, basically. So like working with schools or doing music for commissions, things like that. So basically, just trying to leverage my skill and knowledge in music any way I can versus just one thing. And I feel like that has helped for sure.
Now, you mentioned, so you have kind of the full-time job, and then this also, you say the side hustle. I always look at side hustle as basically a second full-time job. But so now
Yeah,
you're doing that. Now, what's the full-time job you're doing, and kind of how do you split your time, and or kind of what is the plan to, as you continue to pursue this business?
sure. Well, at the moment, I am teaching music again at a elementary school. Um, so it's something I'm comfortable with and it's easy for me. And what was the last part of the question?
Just kind of, as you're seeing, how do you balance the full-time job in this, and kind of where do you see things headed? Are you looking to continue to pursue both, and balancing both, or build the current business and do a full-time gig, or kind of where do you see things headed?
For sure, for sure. I definitely am open to having my business fully support me. Um, hopefully sooner than later. I am not one of those people who is opposed necessarily though to like working a 9 to 5, right? Like I don't necessarily mind it. However, the thing that does scare me is having one income stream. Like that was the case before when I was laid off, and I was doing things and it didn't turn out well for me. So it's just so important to have those things going on. So I do intend to do both, for as long as I can, and until the business fully supports me. There's this proverb that I learned when I was younger, to not let your right hand know what your left hand is doing, and that's kind of a guiding principle for me. While I grow work flora, there are other like little things that I have that are related but not related to work flora that I hope will become small income streams, and that way it can kind of support and generate hopefully more, just revenue for what I need to do. Music is an expensive business.
Hmm.
So there's just a lot of like out of pocket things that I have to do first in order to like leverage it in order for it to make the income that I need. But yeah, I am definitely still doing both. So it is definitely like having two full-time jobs, and I'll, continue to do that as long as I can.
Awesome. Well, sounds like a lot of great journey yet ahead, and plenty of
Yeah.
opportunities yet to come. So awesome. Well, with that, now as we kind of wrap up towards the end of this episode, I always like to wrap up each episode with the same two questions. So we'll jump to those now. So the first
Mm.
question I always like to ask is, along your journey, what was the worst business decision you ever made? And what'd you learn from it?
Yes. So the worst business decision I made so far is I was seeking some help with like lead generation, and I went to this company to help with that. And it turned out that it wasn't the service that I thought it was. It ended up being a little bit predatory, in my opinion.
Hmm.
And I took out a personal loan in order to use the service because I was thinking that it's going to help me grow my business, and I'm just starting off and I don't know what I'm doing, and it was a bad decision that I'm still paying for, and I didn't even reap any benefit from it. So it's just like kind of starting back at square one. Yeah,
Well, sometimes, and it's hard because if you're getting into areas or fields where you don't, you're not always having the experience as much about, or you don't have the background in, you're looking for expertise and guidance for other people. And sometimes it works out well and you can get that expertise. And other times, sometimes they'll take advantage of that inexperience, and then you get to learn from that experience as well. So sounds like
yeah,
certainly an easy mistake to make, but a great one to learn from.
yeah.
Second question now that I like to ask. So now, if you're talking to somebody that's just getting into a startup or a small business, what would be the one piece of advice you give them?
Sure. Um, I think that the best advice I would give is to, you know, look at just everything holistically, and zoom out from, you know, the thing that is like your thing, like music is my thing. It's like what I know how to do, right?
Hmm.
But often, my day to day when it comes to just working on growing my business, I'm not even doing my thing. I'm doing a lot of other things, and so I have to kind of zoom out from the passion part of it, and the, oh, I love doing this, because there's just so many other things to do and learn and think about in order to grow and scale. And you have to set that up in the beginning, in order for it to work. So, I am, you know, I'm a teacher by trade, and an insatiably inquisitive person by nature. So I do a lot of reading and research, and sometimes it feels like, things aren't happening because I'm just like looking at information. Sometimes there's information overload, right?
Hmm.
But I feel like that's been almost sometimes the best thing, because I've learned so much, and now for this go round of my second iteration of a business, there are just things that I didn't do before that I'm doing now. And I feel like it's going to set me up for success in the future, even though, things might move a little bit slower. So,
Awesome. No, definitely. There sounds like a great piece of advice. I think that's a great takeaway. So, well,
yeah.
now as we do wrap up the episode, if people want to reach out to you, they want to be a customer, they want to be a client, they want to be an employee, they want to be an investor, they want to be your next best friend, any or all of the above, what's the best way to reach out to you, contact you, find out more?
Sure. Anyone can reach out to me via my website, www.workflora.com. So that's spelled work and then flora, FLORA.com, or just info@workflora.com.
Awesome. Well, I definitely encourage people to reach out, support a great business. If nothing else, make a new best friend. So
Yeah.
with that, thank you again for coming on the podcast. It's been a pleasure. Now, for all of you, the listeners that are out there, if you have your own journey to share and you'd like to be a guest on the podcast, we'd love to have you. So just go to inventiveguest.com, apply to be on the show. A couple more things as listeners, make sure to click share, subscribe, leave us a review. Helps us to reach even more startups and small businesses to help them along their journey to success. And on that note, if along your journey you ever need help with patents or trademarks or anything else with your startup or your small business, just go to strategymeeting.com, grab some time with us to chat, and we're always here to help. Well, thank you again, Juanita, for coming on the podcast, and wish the next leg of your journey even better than the last.
Awesome. Thank you so much.